And welcome back for another video by me, RJB, for RJB TV. And of course, we're looking at some fastest map on Starcraft Brood War Remastered. Now, the two players of today are none other than, once again, Soulkey himself, playing some Zerg on fastest map. In fact, playing 1 versus 1 on fastest map. And this time he's playing against the player Yang Shigi Sonyun, also known as Rabbit or Toki to most. And this should be a really... Well, I don't want to make any claims. I wanted to start saying this will be a very exciting match, but I'll be honest. I'm not sure if Soulkey's got what it takes to beat up or win against Toki. We've seen other low map legends, well, not really legends, we've seen other low map or regular map players have pretty good runs at fastest map. For example, Mong is pretty good. We've seen Light do pretty well as well. We have seen Brain, who originally is a normal map player, become the best fastest map player in the world. So there is definitely some potential in there for the normal map professionals to really stand out and do extremely well on fastest map. Given, of course, the condition that they take the time to learn the map and become accustomed to all the different scenarios and situations they can face. But let's look at Soulkey, because that's why we are really here. To watch Soulkey play against Yang Shigi Sonyun. We've in the past seen Larva go up against Hamburger Sasu. To varying amounts of success. He actually lost all the games. I think he lost about 11 of them. So there was no success in store for Larva at that time. Maybe Soulkey will have different results here against Toki, because I think Hamburger Sasu's Protoss versus Zerg is a little bit better than Toki's. But Toki himself, of course, even though he is not the fastest player, like Hamburger Sasu, who is, in my opinion, one of the fastest map players, and has insane micro and macro. He's pretty much the all-round package that you need. That's Hamburger Sasu. He's an all-round package, whereas Rabbit is not really that great at micro. He is pretty good at macro, I will admit. He has pretty great build orders as well. He's pretty smart in his approach. Does tend to risk it a little bit too much at times. Like, he will try to squeeze as much out of the bottle as he can. And at times it goes wrong. At times he gets caught off guard because he is risking it too much. Flying too close to the sun, gets burned, and loses games that he simply shouldn't be losing at all. But this game looks pretty good. He's starting out with the standard Protoss versus Zerg build order, where you go +1 Nexus into 3 gateways and a Forge and a Cyber Core. And then, well, you start massing up. Get bigger, and start putting pressure up on the Zerg. Now, there's a particular thing you gotta do when you're playing against a non-choke Zerg. That is, you have to mass up gateway units. You can't really go for advanced tech. You have to get gateway units, a lot of gateways, go for a mass. Because if you go for tech, the Zerg can kind of sit back and relax, get big really fast, and the Zerg will outmass you and outfight you and out-sustain you. So you need to get that, well, you need to get gateways, a lot of units. That's why we are seeing him get the level 1 attack so early on into the game. Because he wants to get his gateway units as strong as they can be, as fast as he can get them to be strong. It's also why we're seeing a Citadel of the Dune for Zealot speed. He's just going to mass up Zealots. He might go for a Templar's Archive just to get Templars, High Templars, but it's unlikely. It's unlikely that he will go for fast High Templars, because Dragoons and Zealots are all that he needs to put the pressure up on Soulkey. Soulkey there is securing himself pretty well. He's playing this pretty well. He's on 21 drones already. He's on 4 macro hatcheries. So his one is still underway. He's got a couple suckers there below his minerals. Let's see if Toki can get on top of them. Toki's actually going for the gas drones, which is kind of painful. Slows Soulkey down significantly, because it messes up the timing of his Hydralisks. It messes up his gas income. Maybe he can't even afford to get upgrades for his Hydralisks. At the moment he can, though. He's getting speed, but no range yet, of course. He might not be able to afford range, because he's mining with 6 drones now, though, so he's looking fine in that regard. getting a couple creep colonies up there in the front just to keep make it easier to defend with his Hydralisks, to give his Hydralisk something to hide behind, and add some extra damage into the mix that's static and not dependent on, well, units not dying. Makes it a little bit easier for him to stay in the game if he does get attacked by Toki. And as I said, Toki's going for mass gateways. He's getting Dragoon range now as well, getting Zealot legs as well. He's doing exactly what he has to do, and that is get as many gateways as he can, get as rich as he can, as fast as he can, and just ball up a lot of units. But I do think that Soulkey here knows what to do. He just has a great sense of knowing what to do, because well, you don't become a top level Zerg in the pro scene without knowing what you're doing. And that's definitely one of the main components of Soulkey's play. He's not the fastest player. Like, there's Zergs who have 400 APM or 500 APM even. But he always comfortably sits at around 250 to 300 with kind of low APM. But it goes to show that knowing what you're doing is way more important than being fast. Now, of course, it helps if you're fast and you know what you're doing, but it doesn't really help you propel towards the next level by just being fast. Sometimes taking your actions to a lower level and focusing on what your opponent is doing, and focusing on getting the right things as you should be getting them, like the right compositions, the right positioning, the right timings, that's all much more important. So yeah, we've got the Dragoons here. Zealots going into the front, of course, because they don't want the Dragoons don't want to block the Zealots. So he's putting his Zealots in front, Dragoons behind. This way, the Zealots will directly attack whatever is trying to attack the Dragoons, take the focus fire away from the Dragoons. The Dragoons will be dealing the damage, the Zealots will be tanking, although now he messes up. He messed it up, even though he set it up so nicely. He goes in for the attack, but there's a lot of Sunkens and a lot of Hydralisks there behind the Sunkens, and this will be not too hard for Soulkey to defend. Toki knows that he can't go in, so Soulkey played that one really well, getting a lot of Sunkens, spacing them out a little bit, so his Hydralisks can walk through, but also so the Zealots have to walk a little bit of distance every single time they kill a Sunken, which of course adds more damage onto the Zealots. Templar's Archive is finished. Templar Storm is on the way as well. He's already getting level 2 weapon upgrade for his Dragoons. It's for his gateway units. So Zealots and Dragoons. It's pretty early, pretty early. We already have attack 1 on the way for Soulkey. He's got a lair. He's getting transport for his overlord. No, I mean speed for his overlords, not transport. He's getting lurker aspect as well. And Rabbit is very close to maxing out in the near future. He just needs another 2 waves of gateway units to spawn, and he'll be on about, I think, 190 supply, but first needs more pilots to finish. Now, do know he's got no protection on his main, but given the fact that Soulkey cannot really afford to attack Toki in this situation, it's very understandable why he would not get any cannons around his main, or around his nexus, or around his probes, because there's simply no risk involved at the moment. Up until Soulkey gets Overlord Transportation, which he's getting right now. He's getting Overlord Transportation right after he finishes Overlord Speed. So we are definitely looking at seeing an Overlord drop coming over into Toki's base. Toki is getting zoned away here because he doesn't have a robotics facility, which is kind of an obvious oversight because you should be expecting the Zerg to go for lurkers, as Soulkey did right here. Soulkey is now adding on his 6th macro hatchery. So he's mostly just trying on securing himself, and Toki really misplayed that one in my opinion. He should have already had the Observer out so he could go for the attack and start pressuring his opponent, although that's a lot of Sunkers to fight through. But I think he would have had a bit of an easier time and probably gotten a lot of damage on those Sunkens, and well, he would have shrunk Soulkey's defensive structures. It would have really helped him out. So now he has to wait for that observatory to finish. It is on the way, almost finished up. In the back, he's also started cannoning up around his nexus, putting Templars there as well, because he is expecting something to be flying in and attacking his probes in the very near future. Now, Soulkey is, unlike most Korean Zergs, really turtling up as hard as he can, even getting Spores there up on the side, adding more hatcheries now as well. Overall transportation is very close to finishing. He's going to load all those lurkers and Hylas into it and fly over the hill into Toki space. But first comes a little scouting exercise there from those zealots. Important to get the information that you need. He sees that there's lurkers in the front. He didn't see that they unburrowed though. He didn't see them unburrowing. And he might just be in time to hit those workers of Toki before Toki has his defenses up and running. He does have a couple of cannons there for detection, a couple of Templars there as well, but he will be a little bit too late. Soulkey starts unloading, wants to kill the cannons, wants to take focus fire away, and a couple of lurkers there are within the range of the probes. He's got a storm now, but the probes are gonna go... Oh, he kills all the cannons there next to the Nexus. Probes are being pulled away, Templars are storming, and looks like Soulkey actually got about 30 kills there in total with this one lurker. 28 kills there on the probes. That's a massive hit. And it's still... Alright, the Observer has arrived there in the back. This might be another one? Alright, no, he kills the Observer as well. That's absolutely brilliant. There's another Observer there though. So Soulkey sent in one Overlord just to try and keep those two lurkers alive by allowing the Hylas to snipe the Observer, and he focused fire it down. And that's what I mean. That's what I mean with being smart and being good at the game. It's not about speed, it's about thinking. He had some quick thinking there and sent it over in trying to extend the life of those lurkers and keep Toki's probes away from the minerals for an even longer amount of time. Which would have been really devastating, because that would mean that Soulkey would become way too big for Toki to handle. I mean, right now we're already at a point where Soulkey is, in my opinion, too big for Toki to handle, because it's going to take a while for Toki to recover getting those 2 probes per 14 seconds, and Soulkey is looking pretty healthy there. It's got a lot of suckers, a lot of lurkers there as well. He's going to try to kill that Observer, but the Observer there gets out of harm's way just in time, although now it's flying back in, so he might just kill it. If he wants to focus, he can't. I think it's just outside of the Spore detection range. The Goose there are doing a lot of work with their level 2 upgrades on the attack, level 1 armor as well, but in the end though, it's not enough. It's not enough. Soulkey, though, did lose his entire mass except for these couple of highlights he's got there, and more units are on the way for Toki. Although, of course, we do have to keep in mind that Toki, having lost that many of his workers, is kind of low on minerals and not really capable of remassing fast and quick and well. His gas is low, his minerals are recovering, he's got Mooster on the side to protect his minerals from another drop that Soulkey is definitely going to be going for, because he's already unloading, unburrowing his lurkers, putting them into the Overlord. He's going to try to go for another attempt. More highlights are spawning there in the back. He's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 hatcheries there in the back. There's number 10. He put that one there for creep spread. He's forced to unload the lurkers in the Overlords because he's really feeling threatened by those Dragoons with these superior upgrades, and the Templars there are storming Dragoons to death. And that's, once again, a lot of units lost there for Soulkey, who is, as I've said before, trying to, even though he landed a huge hit there on Toki, he's trying his best to stay in the game because his worker count is quite low. And he's already mining from 6 extractors. He has more gas than he needs. So the Hive now on the way as well is very close to finishing, so we can start a Greater Spire. And that's when that surplus of gas is going to come in handy. But first he needs more drones. But maybe he is one of those players who lacks the experience on fastest map to know the amount of drones that he needs. Also, Storm Drop is going to be coming in. Storm Drop lands, and the Storm Drop hits most of the drones. He's only got 23 left, even hits more of them with a second storm, and now it's only 22 of them left. Gonna have to rebuild a lot of drones very quick, but he's pretty poor, so we can't really afford any new drones, and this is the time of the game for Toki to come back and strike. It's time for the Empire to strike back and hit hard while the metal or the iron is hot. Oh god, I hate using that saying so much. Alright, so anyway, Toki now feeling that he is in the lead, which he is. He's in the driver's seat for sure. Goes in for another attack there on the Sunkens there in the front. Wants to prune down the number of Sunkens and make his future a little bit easier. Another drop there coming in. Once again, the Templars arriving on the scene. Templars are not... These drones are not running away from harm, and there's actually 0 drones left. Doesn't have a single drone left. But once again, a couple of lurkers there setting up shop next to the probes, but he doesn't hit any of the probes. All the probes there are getting away to safety, and looks like Toki's workers are completely fine. Did lose some mining time, but, you know, doesn't really hurt him all that much. Doesn't really hurt him all that much. It's going to take a while for him to get back to maximum mining capacity, but the fact that we're looking at 70 against 9 drones, and Soulkey has no money, he's broke. He's broke. We're going to be seeing him rolling over and dying within a matter of seconds, or within at least on this next attack. If his next... Oh, he doesn't even stay. He just leaves. Wait, there's a shuttle here? Is it empty? So he just knows. He just knows that the game is over. He just knows. And an overlord hang here up on the hill, I think, or maybe he just knew. It was a done deal. He knows that he shouldn't be staying and prolonging his suffering for reasons that are unnecessary. So yeah, Soulkey played that pretty well at the first part, but you can just see that this guy has no experience whatsoever with storm drops, and how important it is to hotkey your workers, to send them to safety, to keep your workers alive, or to make some real anti-drop, and he simply wasn't expecting the storm drops. At least that's what my feelings tell me, because this looked a lot like someone who has no clue that storm drops are a thing. And because storm drops, well, weren't on his radar, he of course lost the game. I mean, if he knew that he had to dodge those storm drops or deal with the shuttles, he would have, I think, won that game, because he was in a pretty good spot. He was in a really good spot, and it was only going to get bigger and bigger and richer, while Toki was still catching up with his worker count, which got pruned down from, I think, about 70 to 42 or 40, somewhere right around that mark. Wait, we've got another replay here with these two players. So let's move on to game number 2. Alright, so actually game number 2 is with Soulkey, but not with Rabbit. It is instead with the player Ed SSS. I forgot what SSS stands for, but it is a clan that Rabbit used to be in, and which Ed, of course, is part of. So let's speed it up a little bit. First 2 minutes are never that interesting. Now the question is, how good is Ed? Is Ed really strong? Is he an average player? What is his level? That's the question. Now he's up against Soulkey, and Soulkey last time around showed up had a pretty good performance, did some pretty good moves. Turtled it really well, did something a lot of players are unable to do, and that is keeping the Protoss out of their base without taking too much damage, which he did really well. So kudos to Soulkey for that. He really had a great sense of what to do, except for managing the storms on his probes, on his drones. But you know, you can't blame him for that. It takes some experience in learning and knowing exactly how to deal with that, because it's kind of unique to Fastest Map to have such a strong focus on killing workers. And if you're not used to it, you're gonna die to it at least a dozen times before you get used to it and know how to handle those shuttle drops. But first, Ed is failing with finding his opponent. He hasn't found him yet, even though he has scouted the choke here, but he couldn't find anything in there. But he's gonna gamble with those zealots that this is probably where Soulkey has to be. But Soulkey already has a sunken there. He's got a, what do you call it again? A Hylas den on the way as well. And this is his 3rd hatchery. So 3 macro hatcheries in addition to his main. In his base, we're looking at 2 gateways, a nexus, 2 gas, a cyber core, and a forge. And that's a really interesting opening. He's going for a fast robotic facility for a fast drop, but I don't think that is the right thing to do. Because unless he gets a real damage down on Soulkey here, Soulkey is going to become too big for those storm drops to really have any effect on him. As I mentioned in the last game, the correct course of action is to get a lot of gateways, get a lot of gateway units, get gateway unit upgrades, and try to overpower your opponent and force the Zerg to always keep spending their minerals on Hydralisks, preventing them from growing bigger and bigger and bigger and richer and richer and richer. You want to force the Zerg to spend on Hydralisks, not on drones, not on buildings, Hydralisks. And then you want to keep killing those Hydralisks with gateway units while your probe count steadily keeps going up, and you become richer, which is, I think, one of the biggest benefits of playing Protoss on fastest map is your probe count just keeps growing while you are attacking and building, which is not something Zerg can really afford to do unless they find nice gaps in the windows of time where they can afford to make drones. And by going for what I think is a drop here alongside a gateway mass, he's kind of trying to do two things at the same time. He's trying to get a lot of units, but he cannot get as many as he should, because he's going for a lot of tech as well, which of course takes gas, takes minerals. So he's spending on two different methods of attacking at the same time, but at the same time, by doing that, he's compromising on both, because his drops are a little bit slower. I mean, his drop, ideally, you would want to get that drop out at about 630 or 620. You will have one Reaver out for a shuttle drop. Still getting shuttle speed, getting recruit range, getting a level 1 weapon for his gateway units as well. But whether this is going to work, I'm not sure, because look at the vision that Soulkey has here on the sides, and I'm sure that Soulkey by now knows that he has to keep his workers alive, or else he's going to die. And I don't think he wants to repeat what happened last game, where he was, you know, ahead of his opponent, which is pretty difficult to do in a Zerg vs Protoss, only to lose it within the blink of an eye as he loses his workers. Another Evo Chamber there coming down for Soulkey, putting up there in the front, so it's kind of like a structure that the Protoss first has to fight through before reaching the drones, if their plan is to fight through all those structures. So you can also place your Queen's Nest in between those Sunkens, and it's like a little bit of extra health that the Protoss has to fight through before they can start killing your hatcheries or whatever they want to kill. As long as there's more time spent for the Protoss, there's more time for you to build Hydralisks or whatever else you need, basically. So the lair is finished. We have Hydralisk on the way. Hydralisk range has finished and speed as well, I think. We've got Lurker aspect now coming on the way for Soulkey. We've got level 1 attack for his Hydralisk and his Lurkers coming in as well. And we're getting Overlord speed first. And a couple of Sunkens there being built in the front, as he did last game. Now last game, around this point in the game, we had Rabbit massing up and balling up here in the front, going and ready for an attack. But Ed is a little bit behind in his mass, because he went for all the tech that he's got there. Does have a lot of gateways now, so he'll be massing up very quick, very soon. But first comes in a drop, but Soulkey sees it with the vision of that Overlord and scares it away. He's going to try to go for some Reaver Shuttle Micro, gets a single Hydralisk kill with the Reaver. Reaver stays alive, Shuttle stays alive, and they're retreating back to safety. At the same time, though, he's got a second Reaver there in the back, but he's going to need a second Shuttle as well. The Shuttle is best being queued up. I wouldn't want to use this Shuttle again, because, you know, it's going to die very quick if Soulkey ever decides to even try to hit it with his pinky. It just dies instantly. So I don't think it's safe to keep using this Shuttle, but given that he's got no choice and he has to put some pressure up on the Zerg, he might as well keep using it, but it's going to be risky. If either of those two Reavers are still in there and the Shuttle gets hit once or twice by Hydralisks, it's gone. And so will the Reavers be as well. Now more Suckers are coming up here in the front, and Ed feels he's ready to attack. About 150 supply there for him. Hydralisk there coming from the back to the front, trying to defend, trying to snipe the Shuttle. He's trying to snipe the Shuttle, but Ed simply doesn't pick up his Reavers, and the Reavers there killing all the Hydralisk there, as they should. And he's going to break through actually here, although he's unloading his Reavers quite far into the battle there. Pretty close to the Sunkers, but they don't take any damage as the Zealots are tanking all the Sunken shots. There are Lurkers here now on the scene though, and there's no observer for Ed. Same mistake that Rabbit made last game, is getting no observer, even though it's quite obvious that there will be Lurkers. He tried to get through, but he couldn't get through. He did kill about, I think, about 10 of them Sunkens there though. And now he's going to go for the attack. He's not going to give Ed any time whatsoever. He's going to go for the attack immediately. No! I'm wrong. A little bit too optimistic. I just love watching very aggressive Zergs, but Soulkey knows that he has to get bigger once again. So the 6 macro hatches, and he might need, I think, about another 6, or maybe at first he might need another 20 drones. Get richer, get bigger, but first he needs Sunkens there up in the front, along with his Lurkers, because, well, that's the way you defend against the Protoss. So Ed is now adding on a stupendous amount of gateways. He's got level 1 weapon upgrade finished as well. Level 2 should be queued up soon. He's got an observatory there as well. He's getting observers 2 at a time. He's got 2 shuttles, 1 Reaver. No Templars yet. No Templars Archive yet to be seen. And I don't think it is on the way yet either. Another Roboter coming in. He's getting cannons around his Nexus, so he doesn't want to lose his probes like Soulkey did last game. Yeah, he's just doing what he has to do. Even though I would have preferred him... I would have preferred to see him, you know, go for more mass, less drop there at the start, and he would have probably been able to overrun Soulkey at about the 8 or 7 minute mark. But Soulkey now is looking really healthy, really strong. He's got a lot of sunkency in the front. He knows what he is doing. Lurkers, Sunkens, Scorches to kill observers. He doesn't have an Overlord here anywhere close though. That one is the closest one, but there's no Overlord vision range upgrade. So you won't really be able to spot out the observers. And here on the middle, balling up his units, preparing himself to attack. He's almost maxed out. He's a couple more pylons and he'll be maxed out on 200. But he's going to go for the attack here. He's going to walk his units straight in. He's going to ball them up, keep them close together, get the observer up in the front. But this time around there's a Spore as well, which is going to make it pretty difficult because he's going to have to fly that observer into the Spore vision range in order to detect the lurkers behind it. And that will give Soulkey the chance to snipe that observer and, well, stop this attack from Ad. So Ad is going to try to break through. Units are coming in, he's killing a lot of Sunkens in the front, but losing a lot of his Zealots there as well. Now the Hylid is coming out from the back to the front, and the Observer goes down, but there's still another Observer there hanging in the back, but it's too far away. Overlords are moving forward, trying to spot the Observer, but the Observer is pretty far in the back, so Ed pulls back around his Reaver outside of the sunken range. He's just going to fight there outside of sunken range and hope that Soulkey loses too many units to the Dragoons and to the Reaver there in the back. Soulkey now adding on more hatcheries. He's got 6, 7, 8, 9, and a 10 there as the main. Valaris number 10. So his macro is, you know, it's on track to becoming bigger and bigger. The amount of lurkers in the front is kind of worrisome for Ed, because there's no way he's going to break through with conventional gateway attacks. He's going to have to try to mix it up, go for storm drops, and, you know, try a lot of different things other than trying to attack through the front. He's going to need a lot of Reavers in the front to even kill those lurkers, because he has to attack those lurkers from a distance. Because if he goes in with Dragoons, the Sunken's lurkers will take down those Dragoons pretty much instantly. But there's also the danger that if he has, you know, too few Dragoons, then Soulkey can keep killing the observers with Scorches, with the Overlord vision, and Ed will never really progress. So, as we've been mentioning, he's got to mix it all up. He has a nice little drop loaded up, flying straight for those workers. But it looks like Soulkey has a couple of lurkers here in the back, gonna burrow them up around his workers. He's got Hylas down the side as well. More lurkers coming down to the back. He's not moving his drones away. Scorches are finishing. He's moving his drones away just in time. The Reaver there can't get a shot off on the workers. So the workers are staying alive. Soulkey is completely fine. And now we have all those drones returning back to minerals. And they're completely safe, which gives, I think, Soulkey a great window to go for a counterattack. Or maybe he just wants to give himself a little bit more time. I think he wants to give himself a little bit more time, get a little bit bigger, more hatches being added on there on the side, more upgrades are on the way. He's already on level 1, 0, almost on level 2, 1. So 2 attack, level 1 carapace. Getting more Scorches there on the side to snipe those shuttles. Yeah, Ed seems to be in a pinch. Ed seems to be in quite a pinch. He's getting more gateways. It's looking a bit messy. I think Ed is a 2 versus 2 player, not necessarily a 1-for-1 player. If it was a 1-for-1 player, he would have played this a little bit differently. But he has the rough idea what he should be doing. Another mass gateway here loaded up in the front. He's got his Reavers there, his Robos in the front there as well, so he can very easily load up his shuttles. A small wave of Zerglings coming out to the side, going to attack. So he's going to throw these units away because he doesn't really need them. And he might still kill some Dragoons with them. Get some use out of them. There's one Dragoon there going down. They're not yet on speed or on crack. They're now on speed, but not yet on crack. Another drop there on the side. They're going to fly in, but there's Scorches in between and Hylas as well, and more lurkers being burrowed up around the hive. So Soulkey really learned his lesson last time, and he has some real protection for his drones this time around. Reaver's unloading. Reaver's getting taken down pretty much instantly. And there's more units unloading there, but most of the shuttles went down. A frontal attack happening as well, but this frontal attack deals pretty much no damage whatsoever. Yeah, look at this. He's got a lot of protection on the sides this time around. I'm really liking this from Soulkey. Hydralisk, Scorches, getting more Sunkens and hatcheries as well. Just kind of just throwing them down. I really like this configuration. It's kind of messy, but it works. Like if he put one there, this middle one would not be able to produce any units because it wouldn't be able to spawn any larvae because these hatcheries around it would be blocking the larva spawns. That's why he's keeping this one open. I mean, there's also Sunkens there blocking it, so he can't really, build a hatchery there. But nonetheless, that's how that works. You need some open space for the hatchery to spawn larvae to even be able to use the hatchery. So Mule is now on the way. We've got Carapace on the way for his air as well. They always get Carapace upgrades first because air, kind of already deals enough damage for Zerg, or so they believe. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Overlords loaded up with the goods. And they got spotted out by this Dragoon, so Ed immediately pulling back to base, ready to intercept and fight against the Overlords that are flying in. Got drops there coming in from Ed as well, aiming for Soulkey's minerals, but first going to focus on these Overlords flying in. But he's just going to lazily intercept them as he flies in with the drop there on the bottom side. Soulkey not seeing this one. Soulkey's not seeing this one. He's unloading mass units there next to... Oh! The Templar went down before it could storm. It got target fired down before it could storm. That's risky. That's very risky. But I do think Soulkey would have been fine because he has so many hatcheries. You can, I think, rebuild, about 40 drones at a time. Maybe even more. Let me count the hatcheries. This is 7. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. So 17 times 3. And that's the amount of drones he can make at a time. Which is about 51. He can make 51 drones at a time. Oh, he has 51 larvae. Wait, Ed leaves. Alright. So it looks like Ed knows that he can fight into Soulkey, and Soulkey gets himself a nice Zerg versus Protoss win. Although I do have to admit that Ed's Protoss versus Zerg is not quite on the level of, for example, 458 or Hamburg Sasu, or even Toki. He definitely has one of the weaker Protoss versus Zergs. He had a rough idea of what to do, but none of it really, hit the mark. Yeah, let's just say it like that. Nothing hit the mark. Everything just fell short by an inch or two. Now, if any of that had hit, it might have been a different story. But Soulkey did all he had to do, and he did it correctly. And because he did everything correctly, well, then of course, as a Zerg, you win. And winning is what I think Soulkey wants to keep doing. Although now his opponent is of a completely different level. As the previous two opponents, it is one of the best Protoss players in Fastest Map. In all of Fastest Map, this is a top 3 Protoss player. Shin style, the real Shin, the one and only, one of the biggest Brute War streamers at the moment, or he's been one of the biggest Brute War streamers for the last 2 or 3 years, consistently getting about 7,000 to 10,000 viewers for every single stream. This guy is the real deal. And I think you will see why as we keep on watching this replay. First of all, he's a very, 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 very fast player. You might be thinking, he's spamming out that 500 APM there at the top, but he is actually capable of playing at 500 plus APM without spamming. He really is that fast. This guy is the real deal. One of the fastest players in all of Fastest Map. Even if you count all the pro players like Ruin, or Soxry, or Yuk, or Calm, I mean, there's a couple of them who are really, really fast. And Shin is one of them. Now Soulkey here on the other side of the map, playing the Zerg once again, is up against his toughest opponent yet. Toki has a good Protoss versus Zerg, but as we saw, he has some weak spots. Now I don't expect Shin to have any weak spots in his Protoss versus Zerg, So this is going to be the hardest battle for Soulkey on fastest map, of course, because I'm sure he's fought harder battles on the normal maps, but it's hard to draw a line of how that equates to his fastest map battles. This is interesting here, though. He's going for two Nexus there at the start. Instead of getting one extra Nexus, he goes for two of them. Now, do note, this delays Shin's attack ability by, I think, about a minute, or, about a minute. But, this is a big but. The biggest but. He will be able to have about 70 to 80 probes at about 7 or 8 minutes into the game. And he will be absolutely rich. He will be the richest motherfucker in this game, for sure. Now there is a downside though, because this means that Soulkey can get rich himself as well. There's a downside, like you try to cheat your way to being richer faster than your opponent. If your opponent catches on to what you're doing, your opponent will be just as rich as you are, which Zerk is definitely capable of. On the bright side though, Shin is going for 4 gateways, so you'll have a steady amount or a steady increase in his army size as the game goes on. He's only going for a single assimilator, which is kind of interesting because with 2 extra nexuses you can definitely afford 2 assimilators, but he wants to go for only just 1. Going for a cybercore now as well. Finds Soulkey's base. You see that there's 4 hatcheries up already and only a single sunken, and Shin is probably kind of, feeling unlucky. Because he's pretty far away. This is a lot of distance to cover all the way over the map. And that of course gives Soulkey even more time. He puts his Hylas Den here to wall off this little portion. I kind of like that. I do it myself as well, but usually I do it with my pool. I'll place my pool right here. But I can still mine from this one and that one. The way Soulkey is now transfigured or placed his base is he cannot mine gas from this extractor or from this geyser. If you put it one higher, like right here, you can still mine from both of these and you have a nice little wall there that keeps the opponents away from your drones. But first, we're looking at some Zealots going cross map. This Zergling there, very sneakily I think, can see it all. This is pretty smart, putting that sunken, the Zergling right there against the side. Even though it should be, Shin should be able to see it, he hasn't seen it yet, although he will for sure see it with this group of Zealots. Yeah, he sees it, he's going to kill it immediately. He's trying to find an opening in Soulkey's base here with those Zealots, but Soulkey very wisely puts an Evo Chamber there to protect his drones from those Zealots, and the Zealots can't really get in because they cannot hit the Sunken, cannot hit that Sunken. And if they try to hit anything, both these Sunkens will protect everything. Now Soulkey is on 30 drones and Shin is on 43. He's got a Citadel of Doom finished, but level 1 weapon upgrade there on the way. He's mining from mining from a single extractor still. As you can see right there, still 0. Doesn't have any probes on it. He's now putting probes on it though. So his game plan is a little bit more macro-centric. And I kind of like that. He's going for a lot of gateways now as well, not going for any drop tech. That's a big difference you see with Ed. And how you know that Ed lacks the experience that Toki and Shin do, Toki and Shin do have, is he's not going for drops. He's not going for drops at all. He's just going for mass units. Now Soulkey here has some amazing Hylas micros. He's trying to damage those Zealots there to at least reduce the army size of Shin before Shin becomes way too big for Soulkey to handle. Which is something we're looking at right now. Because Shin, with that 440 APM, is so quickly becoming bigger and stronger, able to fight and macro at the same time. This guy is the absolute macro king. And we're seeing that reflected in his ability to quickly build out his base and mass up very quick, while getting only the essentials. Dragoon range, level 1 weapon upgrade, Zealot legs with a Citadel of Doom, a Robo facility as well. I want to see a Robo facility coming out here for Shin. There's a Robo facility for, of course, observers. Now Soulkey there is somehow managing to scare those Zealots away. Soulkey is a very good micro player. And he's pretty fast as well, it appears. Usually he's not this fast, but he's really putting is all into it. He's really putting every single ounce of hand power into that mouse control. More hatch on the side. Shin is spreading out his zealots, trying to go for an attack here on Soulkey. Will he be able to do it? The zealot count is pretty big, but there's a lot of Sunkas there as well that Soulkey can micro around, and Shin immediately knows he's got to turn around and not take this fight. Although he gets baited back into it, goes back for the attack on those highlights, trying to catch those highlights out. As they're in front of the Sunkans, he's actually doing some damage, but he's losing more than he is killing. Now his probe count is pretty good. A drop comes in. Was it a drop? I don't think that was a drop. That wasn't a drop. That was definitely not a drop. They're just scouting, I think. Dragoons this time around are there as well on the scene. Level 1 attack has finished, and highlighters are going in for the attack. They have their level 1 attack upgrade finishing soon as well, so they'll be on the exact same upgrades very soon. More gateways coming out from Shin. His macro is on the maximum levels of speed. Maxing out as fast as he can. He lost a lot of overlords there, Soulkey did. Now, this is kind of the thing that I meant with you have to put pressure up on the Zerg. Even though Soulkey hasn't lost drones, hasn't lost that many Hydralisks, the pressure has been put on Soulkey. And as a result, Soulkey is nowhere near as big as Shin is. You can see it reflected in their supply counts. 70 against 180. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 macro hatcheries against, look at how many gateways this motherfucker has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And he's going to fill this entire portion out as well. And he's maxed out almost entirely. There's a shuttle there, but there's nothing inside the shuttle. It's just there to force Soulkey to multitask more than he wants to. This is a lot of Sunkans there, but this entire mass from Shin might be able to kill most of the Sunkans and the Hydralisks. More Hydralisks are on the way though. Yes, Lurkers morphing as well, and there's once again no observer here on the scene. So all three players in a row make the same mistake of not getting observers, and Lurkers are going to be the saving grace here for Soulkey. Because without those Lurkers, he would have lost a lot of Hydralisks and Sunkans there in the front as well, which would give Shin the option to just keep sending in more mass units, gateway units, sending them out across the map and keep attacking. Soulkey now though does have Lurkers finished. Shin is fighting away from the Sunkans, but he's still losing the exchange because he lost too many units to the Lurkers here on top of the Sunkans, or in between the Sunkans. So more hatches now coming out for Soulkey. No, wait, no, that's a Spire? He's getting a Spire, not getting more hatcheries. So 47 drones, not that many drones. He's kind of poor compared to his opponent who has 80 probes, because he has 4 Nexus in total, which is kind of nuts. It's absolutely crazy. Level 2 weapon upgrade also still on the way. He's got Storm upgrade already finished, but no Templar in his shuttle. That Templar's here on the scene though. He does have shuttles here picking up units, 6 of them. 2 Templars are going to be put into that shuttle as well. He's going to go for a Storm drop at the same time as he's attacking, but this time around, still no observer and a lot of Lurkers there killing those Dragoons, and Shin is losing his shit once again. But here come the shuttles. Will Soulkey be in time to take down the shuttles? There's nothing in between the shuttles and his destination. It's going to go all the way, and Soulkey's trying to get away, but it's Templars. You can't get away from the Templars. He's losing all of his drones there as well, and the Storms once again are the nail in the coffin for Soulkey, who didn't have his workers hotkeyed and wasn't sending them away in time. Although I gotta admit, Shin most of the times knows how to hit drones that are running away to safety. So I think that Shin would have still hit them, because that's honestly Shin's best skill. Storm drops. Accuracy with his storms and the speed at which he can storm is crazy, crazy fast. Another storm drop there loading up on the middle. We've got a lot of Lurkers still morphing. We still have no observer anywhere to be seen. He doesn't even have an observatory. What? Oh wait, he has an observatory. Just no observers. No observers at all. He has not made any of them. Why though? Why? Why? Why though? Well, he's gonna run past. He's being bold. He's being very bold. He's setting up a play for his shuttles. He's gonna attack with the Hydralisks, with the Zealots, so that the Hydralisks cannot attack the shuttles. The shuttles are gonna come in straight up. Gonna try to go for the drones once again, flying through, managing to arrive on the scene. The storm's coming out there on the drones, but the drones are flying away. Though he does lose about 7 of them, but he keeps most of them alive. And Soulkey plays that one pretty well. pretty well, because this time around I do think he had his drones hotkeyed. More drones were spawning. But because of the drone losses, he's being capped rather small. Now imagine if that storm drop from earlier hadn't hit any drones, Soulkey would be mighty fine, mighty strong. I think he would be on at least 10 or 12 hatcheries already, and very close to maxing out. But losing that many drones that early really, put a wrench in things and made this game very difficult for him to play. He's trying to snipe the shuttles here on the side with Scorches as Shin is clearing out vision, killing overlords, which of course also gets Soulkey supplies them. Once again, a drop there coming in, although he's sending in a fake shuttle first for Soulkey to get distracted by. Then he sends in his real, and it's working, Soulkey completely fell for it, hook, line, and sinker, drones, Templars arriving on the scene. He's got 3 Templars there, 1 storm, 2 storm, 3 storms there coming down on the drones, and all the drones are going down. He's only got 8 of them left. And I think that's a done deal, because now there's no way for Soulkey to come back into the game. Because it looks like Shin also has observers, and he's just going to walk through the front there and kill everything that he sees. Another storm drop there coming in there on the side. Well, no, it's Dragoons being put up on the hill. For hill advantage, he's putting a lot of them up on the hill. The observers this time around, lurkers are no match for these mighty detectors that Soulkey can't really do much against. He does have some Scorch there on the way, but he's going to snipe the Scorches. No! He's going to lose the... Oh, he manages to keep them alive. Does kill the shuttle at least, but he kept those 2 observers there alive in the back. But all the Dragoons do appear to be going down, and Soulkey is somewhat recovering. I want to say, but look at all these Dragoons already moving out cross-map, going for another attack, and a shuttle drop there on the side, aiming to go in from the right. Scorch is there, meeting some shuttles, but the shuttles... Oh, he gets that one. Smart thinking. He kills the actual drop. Looks like Shin is playing with his food here, though, with those shuttles, trying to trick his opponent into thinking that it's still a real drop, but decides to turn around eventually. Does the same thing on the bottom side. Goes in with a fake attack, aiming to disrupt his opponent, but his opponent is honestly too small. Dragoons are just killing everything here in the front. 112 upgrades there. 0-2 for the Hydralisks. So pretty good job there from Soulkey, keeping his upgrades up on his Hydralisks. In the end, I don't think this is much of a challenge for Shin anymore. He's just gonna roll over his opponent with a steamroller, a road roller. Rolla. Yeah, a lot of Templars, Dragoons, Zealots coming in from the base. Reaver's there as well. He doesn't even have to go for the drones, although I think he's gonna... No, he's not even gonna try. He's gonna unload them there on the side behind the Dragoons. He's gonna keep microing his shuttle back and forth to keep those Reavers safe. Nope, he's gonna pick up those Templars and gonna fly them into the fray. Gonna pick up those Zealots there as well. He's gonna fly straight for the drones. There's nothing there in between. There's lurkers there burrowed up though, but they won't kill it. Oh, the storm was so fast, so nasty. Yeah, that's Soulkey losing the 3rd game. So out of the 3 opponents that he played, he almost beat Toki. He beat Ed, but he lost quite convincingly against Shin. Which is quite understandable. Which is really, really quite understandable, because Shin is really fast. He's a really fast player. And he's a really good player. He's fast and smart. He's mechanically very skilled, knows exactly what to do as long as he's Protoss, because on Zerg and Terran he's not as strong, but this guy is almost unbeatable when he's on the Protoss. We've seen him play Protoss against Toki, we've seen him play Protoss against Mong, and he quite, convincingly beat them. Now do keep in mind that Protoss is supposed to kind of win most of the matchups, but that aside, I think Soulkey is pretty promising. I really do hope that Soulkey plays more fastest and becomes the fastest map monster. Because I do honestly think he's got what it takes to be one of the best players on fastest if he decided to put more time and effort into learning it. Kind of like Mong. Mong became an absolute monster of a Terran player on fastest, and even became a monster of a Protoss player as well. So it would be interesting to see what these players are capable of if they are given enough time to learn and adapt and, well, get the experience. Anyway, that's it for today. Thank you for watching. This was RGB for RGB TV, bringing you some Soulkey against Toki, Ed, and Shin. And I hope to be seeing you around next time when I come back with another video of Starcraft fastest map. Boudoir Remastered. I kind of fucked up there, but no way. See you next time.